There was a time when the world didn't call them its greatest superheroes. There was a time when the world didn't know what a superhero was. Today, on the Comic Book Report, we'll be reviewing Justice League, Volume 1, Origin of the New 52. Stick around and check it out. Greetings all, and welcome. My name is Dominic and you're watching the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. Today we'll be looking at Geoff Johns and Jim Lee's first collection of Justice League comics. But before we do, here are a couple quick facts about today's collection. Justice League Origin was written by Geoff Johns and penciled by Jim Lee. The comics were first published by DC in 2011 and 2012. This hardcover volume today comes in at 192 pages and collects Justice League issues 1 through 6. At this time, I'd like to issue a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through this collection in its entirety and commenting on plot points. You've been warned. Alright, and here it is now, Justice League Origin of the New 52. As you can probably tell, this is a standard size hardcover edition, and it's formatted very similarly to the other hardcover New 52 collections. I've always been really fond of this one, guys, because I think that Geoff Johns really doesn't miss, and Jim Lee is actually my favorite comic book penciler of all time. And these issues showcase some of my favorite of his work that I've read. I should say as well, this was one of my earliest collected editions I bought. After my phase of buying the Marvel Essentials and DC Showcase Presents collections, I pretty much dove into the New 52, and Justice League was one of the first titles I checked out. And as we get into the collection proper, I just love seeing all those big splash pagey kind of artwork that decorates the beginning of this collection. So for those that are curious, like a lot of the New 52 run in general, this Justice League Volume 1 is a great place to start reading not only Justice League, not only the New 52, but really DC Comics in general. For someone that wants to know what just the standard DC Universe A-list superheroes are all about, this is probably one of my biggest recommendations. In the pages, you get a little sampling of each of these top-tier DC heroes. You get some of their background, you get some of their character dynamics, and you get a good feeling for each of these characters. Granted, the New 52 plays with some of their personalities and some of the continuity a bit. I think I see this most in Superman, who comes off a bit edgy and kind of less Boy Scouty, I would say, than he is in a lot of his incarnations. But beyond that, this is an excellent primer and a great place to start. And with the holiday right around the corner, I would also highly recommend this as a comic gift to give to someone who wants to check out these comics but knows next to nothing about DC Comics. It's frankly that accessible. And with Geoff Johns at the helm, you have someone who loves and adores these characters and is a mainstay in the DC Comics universe. You couple that with some of the best pencils I've seen from Jim Lee, and you have a powerhouse book right here for newcomers. And while the comic is called Origin, and it really is during the origin time for a lot of these heroes, I think the only real origin story we really get in this volume is primarily for Cyborg, who we get to see the accident that created him and his early story. We also, of course, have the origin of the Justice League. We get to see how all the heroes met each other, at least in the New 52 continuity. And you even see them facing off against the evil Darkseid, the parademons, and all of the other forces of Apocalypse, which is obviously a big bad within the DC universe. And while it's easy to praise this collection as an on-ramp for aspiring or new-coming comic readers, there's also a lot to love for returning fans or people that like some of the heroes or like Justice League in general. As I said, we have Geoff Johns at the helm, and even though this is a basic, kind of paint-by-numbers comic book origin story or team book, it's done effectively. And while the writing might not be groundbreaking, at least compared to some of his other work, it's still worthwhile. And I will say, it's hard to beat Jim Lee's pencils. Once again, these are some of the sharpest, best incarnations of these characters I have ever seen. I bet even those who don't love the New 52 would find it hard not to at least enjoy the art in this collection. As for the story itself, basically this all occurs about 5 years before the events of the traditional New 52. It's basically a flashback story that shows how the Justice League first came to be and what happened when superheroes first appeared on the planet. The early issues kind of focus on how these characters meet each other, a lot of their back and forth, the ways that they have conflict with each other or misunderstandings, ultimately smoothing over and kind of becoming allies. A notable piece here, I think, is Green Lantern and Batman's relationship. There's a lot of tension there, and there's a lot of just growth and character-defining moments, even in these pages, that I really enjoy seeing between the two of them specifically. As I mentioned too, this collection really serves as a good origin story for Cyborg himself, who, as far as I know, this was his first promotion to Justice League founder status in the New 52, and he fits in really well. And once we have the whole team here, we basically see that Darkseid's coming from Apocalypse. We have him kind of coming through and kind of trying to threaten the world. And of course, it's up to the Justice League to stop him. Again, it's a little bit paint by numbers, it's a little bit story you've seen before, but it is done well. And even though it's only 6 issues, it has a good, generous portion of extras at the back here that make this a bit of a fuller collection. And while it's not until subsequent volumes that Geoff Johns really pushes the stories forward, this is an excellent foundation for everything he'll build going forward. And as we finish those character dossiers and some of the sketch work and modeling for some of the characters, I think we're about done with this collection, which means it's time to give it a grade. For some of my favorite pencil work I've ever seen in the history of DC Comics, along with being an excellent on-ramp for new readers, even if the storytelling is a bit formulaic, The Comic Book Report has to give Justice League Origin, Volume 1 of the New 52 by Geoff Johns and Jim Lee, a B. This is an above-average collection that has some fun extras, while also providing a great starting point for the New 52 Justice League run and its cast of characters. I think I would have loved to see a more groundbreaking story itself, but it was hard not to love seeing some of these character interactions as imagined by Geoff Johns, with the incredible pencil work of Jim Lee once again. It should be said as well that we do get a full story arc in this volume, a beginning, middle, and end, which is always nice to see. Like I said, there are some fun character interactions, and this is worthwhile for a fan of the mainstay DC heroes. And while it might not change your life, it is certainly a great read. And that's going to do it today for the Comic Book Report, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and watch some of my other videos if you have a chance. Until next time, have a good one.